Lieutenant Governor Josh Tenorio, good morning, LT. Thanks for joining us. And I know you got that.
Hi, good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning, Chris. And good morning, mayors. It's so good to see all of you.
Yeah, it's
And
fun.
especially all of you and Mayor Ernest, good to see you. I haven't seen you since for a few months now.
Right on. Okay, they can hear you. They're fine. They love you.
And yeah, no problem. Mayor Doris, I'm very happy that that main road is about done. That's just the tip of the iceberg with the roads. And maybe, Chris, I just want to tell you that each of these villages we're working with on a lot of different things. In Umatic, we have a baseball field that Gura has funded in partnership with Parks and Rec that's almost done. In Chalampago, the mayor submitted a very good grant application to the Office of Economic Adjustment at DOD. And we're working hard to try and get a multi-purpose facility constructed over there. It looks very good. In Manila, we're in the final NEPA process to repair the baseball field, but also to convert the basketball field into, I guess I call it that Sinahanya style gym. Same thing in Mariso, where the mayor was looking at basically refreshing that tennis court and turning that into that Sinahanya style multi-purpose facility. So all of them, I feel that, in the next few months, hopefully we'll be getting to break ground on all of those projects. I think the Chalampago one is a little bit past that, but I have to say that the mayor used the community host funds that he's had to come up with a good matching fund, and it really got the Department of Defense motivated to basically look at that project and push forward. So just happy that these are a bunch of projects that I'm working on with all of them, and still a lot more.
Right.
All right. I'm going to jump right into it,
Okay.
LT, because I know you're getting ready to go into your meeting. Can you provide us any insight on which way the administration is leaning towards on the budget bill, which was passed last night? We just got the comment from Adelope a few minutes ago.
Right.
But if you could provide more,
Do you want me to read it or no?
well, we can
Okay.
let him
Yeah.
speak because
Go
he's
ahead.
on.
Well, obviously, I stand behind the comments. We're looking at it. I have a meeting later this morning, really trying to analyze some of the cuts to health, safety, and education. I've been working with education on the CARES Act money that they received and the governor received. So we have about $12 million and DOE has $44 million. And we're working with the superintendent to try and get a waiver from the Secretary of Education so we can try and hold on to all of that money, which is a little at risk, I would say. I'm not sure what the amounts would be at risk because we have to make a case that the government is been consistently funding education. Of course, there's been a cut, but there's also, I noticed that the Budget Act, the last chapter had to do with helping them with some financing. And then, of course, in the public health side and taking a look at all of the staff that has been hired and that will need to continue through the next fiscal year, and figure out and cross-reference all the different blended funding source coming in for those folks so we can expand the operation at public health. So I'd say, obviously we're disappointed there's a difference in the revenue amount, but we'll do our due diligence and go page by page and take a look at it.
Right, but could the administration done a lot more to stop where we are with this the disagreements with the budget? Because I think I read somewhere that BBMR and DOA, they just kind of disengaged with the discussions on the budget bill.
I think that I think early on there had been some good conversation and good dialogue, and it sort of dissipated in the week coming up into the Budget Act, where it seemed that the OFB was very firm, not wanting to take a look at any of the additional information with the receivables to try and make an agreement on the revenue amount. And that's my observation. But, we'll take a look at it with an open mind, but understand where the concerns are and try and figure out what the operations plan would be if some of the cuts that we believe are not good, how are we going to maintain operations without those kinds of funding levels? We have to put on our caps to look for some innovation or look for some ways to make it work, and that's what we'll be immersed with in the next few days.
Yeah, I don't know. I just, if we're in the middle of this pandemic, it just seems like
Yeah.
we could set aside whatever differences are going on
Correct.
and just work together and
I mean, especially since it's with Democrat. We got Democrat administration, Democrat supermajority. You would think that, and LT, I mean, in its simplest form, people can look at this, chain of events and be like, oh, how are they going to complain of that we used a hatchet on the budget when they didn't even want to come to the table? Or they did come to the table, and then whatever happened, they stopped coming.
yeah.
Well, we'll take a look at it.
It
The
is
budget
what it
process
is.
very, it's a very animated, very interesting. It's for some people that's the top part of their year is looking at the budget session.
Right.
But for me, I'm open-minded. But again, just driving down into the concerns that the governor has already stated, especially with regards to public health, and including in the matching funds for Medicaid and all that kind of stuff. We just have to take a look and see what's going on.
So we're not going to see it vetoed today. You think you guys are going to take some time?
Well, I mean, I don't have the authority to veto, but
Right.
we have to take a look at it.
I wanted to see if you had any reaction to what Mayor Doris Lujan was talking about with regard to the
With the
recycling
G3 and
revolving.
the
Yeah,
recycling?
yeah, the
Right,
G3.
right.
Because I
Yeah,
think we all
so what I
support
think-
the initiative, but go ahead.
So what I think is that, first of all, the original disagreement inside the recycling revolving fund had to do with Guam EPA and the Mayor's Council. The Mayor's Council very frustrated that in the last few years, Guam EPA wasn't pushing out by virtue of the grants, the money for the abandoned vehicle collection, which is something that we wholeheartedly support. And so we've been, in the last year, worked with the EPA board to push them to have an MOU for the money that the mayors are using right now, which is inadequate really for what the mass need is throughout the island. And so I would say that we continue to support, and I would expect the Guam EPA board to continue the permanent funding stream of the abandoned vehicle collection and the other white good collection with the mayors at a level. One thing that probably has not been well reported is that the recycling revolving fund had I think a big carryover, and I think that's where originally it started. Then when G3 came in looking for some funds, I had told them maybe they should talk to Senator Sabina Perez, who was trying to reauthor the Zero Waste Fund. I understand she submitted the bill. I haven't seen it yet. In months past, I had talked with her about some of the evolution of how I think zero waste should be more effective in trying to reduce the stream into the landfills and also recover and move things into a circular economy. So I guess the way I see the fight is that there's there's money. Probably, I think Senator Sabina should have been more proactive prior to the budget, just trying to reconcile all the different interest groups. There's also the Zero Waste Commission that is led by Conchita Titano and First Gentleman that have a whole bunch of demonstration projects that are also competing for funding. And I think EPA wants to make sure they have and retain the control to determine how the funds go. We'll be looking at them and making sure their priorities are in line. But I think that the conflict that occurred could have been avoided because, quite frankly, there's more than enough money at the table for at least this year for all the competing interests. I think what it is, and so I was asked to, and I'll be upfront, I was asked to go in and advocate for G3. And I am a big advocate for G3 in the University of Guam, but did not want to get involved in this whole battle within the government that we're managing. So there's already 4 interest groups within the executive branch, including the Mayor's Council, that need the resource to go and I think first and foremost, for me, I'd like to see the mayor's funding stream permanized. And then I think that the zero waste, the EPA, and the G3 should all be coordinated. They all work together and are part of the same goal. So I'm hoping that we can reconcile and get them on the same page. And I'll be personally working with EPA and G3 and zero waste to try and get everybody on the same page.
Wow. Yeah, maybe we could take that $500,000 that we gave G3 and divvy it up between all those other groups, because I think it's kind of funny that the one group that got the big payday was the one that was headed by the brother of a sitting senator who didn't recuse herself. We just got a couple minutes.
Okay, yeah. So if you could just provide us any updates with COVID.
Are we extending the
You know what?
lockdown?
That's my meeting at 8:30. But obviously, I'm monitoring the situation in the hospital. Also listening and reading some of the concerns by the doctors, wanting to make sure that the infectious control policies and investigations at GMH are underway so that they can prioritize the safety of the patients and, of course, the employees. But yeah, that's something that I'm quite interested in. And then, of course, I'm excited also. We have in town some trainers from the University of California, San Francisco, that are working with UOG to expand the number and methods of contact tracing. And so I'm looking forward to that being another resource that we have in the government to deal with our current situation and then plan for the future with regard, since Guam is normally it's a highly traversed area in travel, we certainly have to be proactive and innovative, trying to get ways to assure our residents and travelers safety when they come. So you'll be, I think UCSF will come out on the press, and I'll ask Crystal and everybody, but okay. I'm going to be meeting with them on Zoom today, getting an update on their project here.
Right. Can you tell us a little bit more about the project? We're talking about digital tracing.
Yeah, so many months ago, back in maybe April or May, UCSF made contact through UOG with our administration to take a look. And back then, the city of San Francisco, with the UCSF guidance, developed a pretty effective contact tracing strategy, for lack of a better word. And taking a look at all their successes, we were able to convince some of the academics that are involved in developing that to come to Guam to help expand the capacity for Guam to do contact tracing, including with participation from the University of Guam. And I do want to recognize Dr. Margaret Hattori-Uchima, who has been leading the effort, and Dr. Tom Kreis. And then the folks from UCSF that have made their way out to help us, taking a look at the contact tracing aspect, but also bringing some of their knowledge base. There's been, I'll tell you that one of the inside tracks that unfortunately we're still planning is that through UCSF, we have access, or we can get priority getting a big Roche machine to do mass testing. The only problem is, based on how the labs are regulated by the U.S. government, the Roche machine and the volume of it is about half the size of the entire public health lab. Wow. And so we're going through all the different ways to try and figure out how we can bring resources to expand testing capacity. But right now, the one that's more realistic and that is actively going on right now is the contact tracing aspect of that.
LT, I know you got just a couple minutes, so I just wanted to ask, do you know anything about extending the lockdown? And then lastly, you still seem kind of subdued. I want to ask about your COVID recovery and then your family, because I know you mentioned your family.
Sure. Okay, so while I'm still in isolation, I think I'm at the end of the illness. I've already, I guess, don't have a fever. I had a little cough, and there's a metric that public health uses to determine when to release from isolation. Family is doing okay. There's my sister's still in recovery. Boys were protected. My mom was protected. So very happy about that. But of course, over the last week, learning more, extended family and friends have turned positive. Some of them elderly, and so trying to pass on some prayers to them. And then what was your last one, Chris?
Are we extending the lockdown?
Well, we'll take a look at the numbers. That this is a critical week, taking a look at the numbers. And so I would say that we'll know more towards the end of the week.
Okay.
I'm sorry. I had one before we let you go. And I'm not sure if you heard the interview with Dr. Felix Cabrera earlier today. Did you get a chance to listen to that? Okay. Well, part of his interview, he had talked about accepting a part of the blame for no follow through with our response to COVID. We've seen what they believe is a nosocomial infection over at GMH, hospital acquired, specifically related to the death of the ICU nurse Marnette. The fact that we don't have the SNU up and running, we've been waiting for months to have that facility up and running, and so he just I thought it was really. He was just real with what's happened, that, accepting some of the fault, because we knew this surge was coming, and here we are, and we're not really prepared to respond. And so from the administration, from your standpoint, are you willing to accept any of the fault for where we are today and not being prepared and not ready, not having enough hospital beds?
I think that, yes, I would. Anything that is happening right now, obviously you take responsibility, both the good and the bad. And I'll just say that, I'm monitoring the situation with hospital capacity, and it's and all the different triggers that we're using to try and expand it. I'll tell you that the SNU is probably, we'll find out when I get on, but I'm pretty much certain that we'll be able to move about 11 patients over there in the next day or two, and that's coming back online. Part of it, I think, is delays or some red tape that I've seen, especially at the hospital, that love to cut up. But yeah, no, anything that happens, obviously, we take responsibility, and we're managing a pandemic. We've not seen these kinds of things, and of course, we're managing the public interest and the special interest from the business community and the public sector, trying to pressure us to make changes on quarantine and openings. And each time that we'll make a decision, it's been very structured. Unfortunately, we have this wave. We have our mother country is in a state of duress. Even though the president thinks everything's fine, 6 million cases, it's not. That's where all of the entry points for a lot of this is. So, we'll do our best, and we'll continue to monitor this on a daily basis, and, look forward to better times for the people. But I want to assure you that our mind is on this, and we will use every tool that we can to try and get everybody's safety and health back.
Thank you, Josh. I really appreciate that. I think
right.
no one's expecting perfection. Just
Thank you, mayors.
planning.
I look forward to seeing all of you.
Take
Hey,
care.
get back to me about Easter, LT.
Yeah, which one, Chris?
Easter. Remember, we're gonna redo Easter.
He really wants to
gosh,
put on the bunny
I'm
suit.
just, yeah,
I
I'm
have
dieting
one for
down.
Chris.
Okay, LT.
Take care.
Okay, go ahead and just leave the. Okay, right on. Okay, now where were we? We're back here with our mayor's.